Abdulaziz Elemosho. I'm happy to share with you a brief synopsis of our recent study in JACS titled Comparative Long-Term Performance of Biologic, Synthetic, and Long-Acting Resorbable Meshes in Ventral Hernia Repair, Population Survival Kinetics Approach. The senior author on this study is Dr. Janis, who's my mentor here at The Ohio State. As you know, more than 600,000 ventral hernia repairs are performed annually in the United States. And from data, we also know that mesh-repaired hernias are less likely to recur than hernias repaired without a mesh, which brings us to this important question: what mesh is the best? Over the years, several materials have been tried, all belonging to biologic, synthetic, and most recently long-acting resorbable meshes. And since hernia recurrence is the most common reason for failed repairs, then it is important for surgeons to choose the best material at the time of first repair. Now, for most other outcomes in surgery, we rely on results from randomized controlled trials and meta-analysis of these trials to provide quality and superior evidence. However, hernia recurrence is a time-dependent outcome, which makes it not suitable for analysis using these standard techniques. Also, the logistics of following patients long enough to detect a recurrence is mostly not feasible. Now, how did we overcome all of these? We used an approach called population survival kinetics that had mostly been used in oncology to project cancer patients' relapse or remission following chemotherapy. And the model here allowed us to analyze Kaplan-Meier curves from high-quality studies, and we included 26 curves from 19 studies. Now, the curves here represent pure recurrence data from ventral hernias repaired with biologic, synthetic, or long-acting resorbable meshes. Now, the type of biologic meshes we included were purely porcine and bovine ADMs. We excluded all human ADMs and studies where things like peritoneal flaps were used as meshes, because again, from studies we know that these materials actually had higher rates of recurrence compared to both porcine and bovine ADMs. Now, the synthetic meshes we included were purely mid-weight polypropylene. Now, what did we find? Looking at all of the repairs together, regardless of the subgroup of patients at higher risk of recurrence, we found that overall time to recurrence was longest for long-acting resorbable meshes, and this was followed by synthetic meshes. Now, when we specifically looked at the at-risk population, which are the subgroup of patients with higher than baseline risk of recurrence, and this may include patients with large hernia diameter, patients with high BMI, and so on, the previous trend continues as long-acting resorbable meshes still stand out. However, what is most interesting here though is that biologic and synthetic meshes are almost comparable here. Now, why is all this important? Given how expensive each operation is, it is important for surgeons to choose the best mesh at the time of first repair. We hope that surgeons utilize this data in their cost versus outcome consideration. Also, given that most recurrences occur within the first few years following repair, we emphasize that most patients be followed up more intensely within this time frame. And finally, this study is here to provide a framework to allow for more application of survival kinetics to other time-dependent surgical outcomes.